some more information about the three-part thesis statement, specifically for this Purple Hibiscus literary critique paper. Now, as we talked in class, and there is a video on this already listed, but as the years have gone on, I think they've gotten a little bit better in terms of explaining the aspects of what this thesis statement really should look like. So in class we discussed what a literary critique is, and there are some aspects that you have to include when you're doing a literary critique. One, you have to include the author because you're doing a critique of the author. The novel itself, in this case Purple Hibiscus, has to find its way in there somewhere. We are using, according to the prompt, a theme focus in order to understand what's going on in Purple Hibiscus, and then how we're going to critique, in this case, Chimamanda Adichie. And for our purposes here, I'm just going to use fear, or I may jump to control, something to this effect. Understanding theme is the most important part to this whole thing. Theme, and this is difficult sometimes to get students to understand, is this universal, or maybe you even consider it like a generic message about a particular topic like fear or control. And I always ask students, what do you think that Adichie is trying to say about this particular topic, about that theme? When she sat down and she wrote this novel about Purple Hibiscus, obviously this is a book that is filled with, some physical abuse, but, we see control, and, control coming from fear. When she sat down and she included these things, what was she trying to say? And that's really what a theme is all about. If you pick fear, for example, what is Adichie trying to send to her audience about the particular theme of fear? Once you figure that out, then you can, move forward with this thesis statement. But you really have to nail this down first. So we have the author. We are going to include the theme, or the novel, and the theme message. I always tell students to watch for strong verb choice, because when you're creating this thesis statement, this is another area of weakness that we come down to having to work out later on. We see the verb say or said too often, or shows even isn't a great verb for this particular type of thesis statement. I always tell students to look for verbs maybe like depicts. That's what Adichie is doing. Maybe she portrays. Demonstrates might be one. Anyhow, and then to add this all up and create what we discuss as the three-part thesis statement, we can see the parts of a three-part thesis statement, how that would be very beneficial when you are maybe writing something quickly, like a timed essay in the future. I'm thinking, if those of you are college bound, you don't have 3 weeks to come up with an essay or to write an essay. Your professors may just throw it at you and say, listen, here's a topic, go ahead and write about it. And you need to organize your thoughts and create some sort of thesis that you have other things going on that you can knock off in just a few hours, with the drafting process, editing process, and then final drafting as well. That's always part of the process, but you have less time as you get older and older, and there's more expected of you. So the three-part thesis statement, what that does is it essentially sets up like your body paragraphs. And in the examples we did in class, one of the types of thesis statements you can use is the character thesis statement. That seems to be a popular one. And so you're still going to include all of these things as you build up to it. But when you get right to the end, you're going to end up demonstrating these things. You're going to demonstrate and show and prove that message about your theme, utilizing the things that happen to the characters in Purple Hibiscus. So common characters. You've got Papa and Mama. You've got Kambili. You've got Jaja. And so if we just drafted this out here, just kind of starting fresh, and it's never good the first time. It's never perfect the first time you put it down. I'm going to include all of the things that we included above in our list and just see how this comes out. So I'm going to start with our author. I'm doing a critique on Adichie, so that's where I'm going to start. Author Chimamanda Adichie. Let me see, make sure I don't spell her name wrong. Adichie depicts the theme control. Let's run with control. Control in her novel Purple Hibiscus by utilizing her characters Kambili, Jaja, and Mama. Now, as I'm drafting through this, there are things that I automatically, I'm thinking, okay, I don't like that. I need to change that. That's okay. That's part of your drafting process. But just so you understand and get a gist for what's going on here in this type of thesis, you have your author. We're doing a literary critique here. We have to include the author. This is who is being critiqued. We have our verb choice depicts. We're using theme here, and so I've focused on control. I've got the literary portion of this included in there. It's Purple Hibiscus. That is the should be underlined actually here. That is the literature that's being used. And now by utilizing, I don't like that verb at all, but first draft, that's where I went. What I did was I set up the three-part thesis statement so that I know my first body paragraph is going to focus on Kambili and how Adichie shows Kambili's character and the effects of control upon her. Body paragraph number 2 is going to be set up for Jaja. 3 is going to be set up for Mama. Okay, that's the benefit of a three-part thesis statement. Now, one weakness in this particular thesis statement is that message. I didn't get to include one of the more important parts of theme here, and is that universal message. What was it that Adichie was trying to say? So, can I adjust this at this point? Absolutely. Author Chimamanda Adichie depicts the theme of control in her novel Purple Hibiscus, and maybe at this point here, I'm going to add in what that message is from my perspective, what I believe Adichie was trying to say about control. Control is often created through the usage of fear and can appear in many aspects of daily lives. I don't know, whatever that universal message might be. If I can include that into my thesis statement and then connect it with my character thesis, three-part thesis statement, it's going to strengthen this. This might take a little while. Okay, it doesn't draft out perfectly the first time. Redraft it. Give yourself that opportunity, that time to redraft. Don't be so critical of yourself that it didn't just happen the first time. Allow yourself to start over. That's the process of writing. Read your own writing, reread it, redraft it, reread it, and keep going from there. At this point, your senior year, we're finally, I would say, willing to let go of the one sentence minimum and maximum of a thesis statement. I wouldn't push it beyond 2 sentences, but you have that freedom now to use 2 sentences rather than just 1. So if you need to do that to include the message and then restart so that you don't have a long run-on sentence here, to finish out your three-part thesis statement, then fine, do that. That's perfectly fine. You're also going to eventually include your hook on top, so you're going to develop this a bit more than we have in previous years, and that's the benefit, but also maybe the struggle of becoming a stronger writer. There's more of an expectation, but you have more options. There's more tools in your tool bag at this point.